Jim, let's get some of these reviews out of the way. Let's start with the beginning of the week. And we may be switching up the schedule of recording a little bit in the coming weeks and months to try to get Raw out a little sooner. But let's talk about WWE Raw.
You sound like Nick Goulas now. And this is the biggest card I've signed in the past weeks and months. Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to make everybody happy, including our beleaguered editor, Jay Sharknado, who's has left the country. He's about to leave the country because we've driven him insane. He's going to follow the yellow brick road around the world or whatever. But we're trying to get these not only audio issues. We're going to upgrade the equipment is what you're threatening now. I just wanted to drop a little nugget there.
I don't make threats, and what I'm saying is there will be a concerted effort, organization-wide, for a major upgrade in the latter half of 2024
Which is basically a nice way of saying that Hotchkiss is going to come over here and get another goddamn computer hooked up for me that is just purely for recording this program, where now I got to look at two of these fucking things, and we potentially have to find somebody with Spectrum that knows how to give me the internet speed that I've been paying for the last 2 or 3 years.
We've determined the best way to keep things going is to have a computer for every single function Jim would need. So we're going to have 5 computers all around him. One for email, one for general fun, whatever that means. One for the show recording, and 2 others that are not yet applied to any specific task.
Well, the websites I visit are dropping like flies anyway. But nevertheless, we're going back to Raw.
We're going back to Raw.
We're going back. We'll get back to where you once belonged, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that is, where they had a big house on hand. Again, while I talk about this, can you find out how many fucking people they had in Fort Lauderdale?
Why are you cursing about that?
This is getting ridiculous.
You mad about it? Why these
I'm starting to get pissed. Let somebody else make some fucking money. For heaven's sake, this ought to be unconstitutional now for these people to make this fucking money.
Hey, before we get going too much further on that topic, and not taking away any of the problems that are self-induced that AEW has, is there anything to the idea that WWE is so hot no one else can make money? Or is it just because if the other company was doing well and producing something like WWE in terms of connection with an audience, they'd still be able to do both good?
They'd still be able to do both good. Keep that in. Put that on the Christmas reel. No, it's fucking ridiculous, because this is not a promotional war anymore. This is AEW's trying to do whatever they're doing, but it's not a viable contender. Whereas you might have thought one time a few years ago that maybe they could do something to get They still weren't going to fucking beat the WWE, for God's sake, but could they get 25 or 30% of the market? Well, whatever that, think how big that is. But no, not now. No, that's a fallacy, because think about this. In every promotional war, whether territorial or national, where it was actually a fucking fight, both businesses prospered. Indianapolis and Detroit, we've talked about before, in 1972 through 74. Sheik didn't come to Indianapolis, but Bruiser went to Detroit. But not only did Sheik start selling out because he was bringing in incredible amounts of talent to fucking be the big show, but Bruiser was still they started out doing, I think, 8,000 or 10,000 people for a couple of shows, but Bruiser would do 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people at the Olympia Stadium against the same night the Sheik doing 10,000 in a Cobo. There was the time, for a national example, with Crockett and the WWF in 1986, there was a night that they were at the Riverfront Coliseum and we were at the Cincinnati Gardens. Hogan was at Riverfront. Flair and Dusty were on top, and Midnight and Rock and Roll, during our first hot run at the Gardens, and we sold out, which the Gardens was 11,000 something, say 12,000 people, and they had 6,000 or so, 7,000 at Riverfront. That's almost 20,000 fucking people in Cincinnati, same night. But it has to be, and the Attitude Era, look it up, kids. They were fucking printing money, both companies, for 2 years, which is about how long it takes under normal circumstances for one of these things to play out when it's a dogfight. With Jerry Jarrett and Nick Goulas, it was 6 weeks. So the point is, it has to be a competition, and then both companies for a while will do good against each other, even night to night, or, same night. But if it's not, then it hurts the B team badly when the other guys are around. Anyway.
Well, I have the attendance here, an estimate. They don't have a full number, but as of 7:30 p.m. the day of, so a half hour before the show, there were a little over 220 tickets available and over 11,500 tickets distributed.
Okay, so point is, it looks great. And I'm going to make the point again, when they play Randy Orton's music and he comes out, the fans are singing the words to the song. The voices in my head, they bring me mad, they kill me dead. I don't know what the fuck it is. And all he has to do is stand in the ring and let him sing to him and cheer and whatever. And then he just sets it up. Gunther's made it personal, talking about my father and grandfather, so I RKO'd him. And they play Gunther's music. And then the announcers get to fucking talk Gunther to the ring and sell. And get people over and whatever, while the fans are just booing the shit out of him. Well, he talked from the entrance, but on these things, the long entrances of everybody in these talking segments gives the announcers a chance to set the shit up. And these guys are so over, they can milk the singing and so what you would normally format for a 6 or 7 minute interview exchange, now on this show, you can 15 or 20 minutes, because that's what it's going to take, unless you step on the people. You see where I'm going with this?
I think so.
They don't need any material now. They just have to go out there and mention the other guy, and he comes out. And they milk the shit out of it, because Gunther, they're booing the piss out of him. And they're screaming and they're chanting. And finally, Orton has the best line. You're going to have a real uncomfortable flight to Berlin with a size 15 boot up your ass, triple wide or whatever the fuck. And they square off, and Kaiser jumps in from behind, and Orton dumps him and goes to Gunther, and Kaiser clips Orton's leg, and Gunther levels him. And, and there you go. Well, by God, I'll see you in Berlin. And that's it. But this is on the territory television, or potentially a television of a company that's not necessarily got 12,000 screaming fucking people in the building. There's about 5 minutes of fucking content here. But they don't need any more. I'm trying to rationalize how we've got this far, that the biggest stars are over for doing the least amount on television.
I guess technically that's the way it's supposed to be if everything works, no matter what year, right?
Yes. Well, yes. It now with what they do see finally when they pay for it. It used to have to be a little more extensive, but now they can get away with that too. Anyway, your thoughts on this segment, if you have any.
It was fine. I mean, I'm not really excited about the match or anything. And I don't know, I'm not really that into it, but it was fine.
Oh, come on, fine. I'm anxious to see it, because I think that it not only with Orton being the most accomplished, old-fashioned worker that there is there left, and Gunther being timeless, that I think we're going to see an athletic fucking exhibition of drama and pathos and all that other type of shit. But Gunther has to beat him, and that's going to be a big deal for Gunther to beat Randy Orton 1, 2, 3 somehow. I don't know, but and at the same time, how can they have Gunther's Kaiser do a blatant heel fuck in Berlin?
Right. Do you think it's guaranteeing Gunther's the babyface in Berlin?
I think, see, here's the thing. It's not necessarily that he's from Germany, but he's there, or that I know he's from Austria, or where the fuck is it? Vienna?
Austria. Yeah.
Is Vienna in Austria?
Yes.
Yeah, well, one of those, maybe he's in Lederhosen. I don't fucking know. I don't know that much German, right? My German is limited to Hogan's Heroes when I was in Sergeant Schultz. Eins, drei, drei, vier. I can go that far. But the point is, he's not just from there, but he's somebody they can be proud of. I mean, they can boo the personality that he's presenting, but the WWE pay-per-view big event crowds are the smartest groups of those crowds, and the smart fans have to be somewhat enamored of Gunther because he's so fucking good. So if it was maybe, the Logan Paul in Cleveland, yeah, but it's Gunther in Germany. It's springtime for Gunther in Germany.
I'm going to guess that won't be his theme song, but Raw rolls on.
All right, then. Sheamus beat Pete Dunne. I know you're upset about that, but it happened.
What do you think of the idea there? He's not Butch anymore. He's mad about the whole Butch time.
He's not Butch, he's really femme.
He's really femme. No, that's not what I'm saying. He's no longer Butch. He's no longer named Butch.
He had to give away all of his black leather, and the spikes went away.
No, apparently he just had to give up Ridge Holland. I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, God, the ridging or the edging?
That's not what I'm saying. Again, you're going way too far, but he gave up being Butch. I can't say it now. I just can't say it. This man is no longer Butch. And what do you think of anything? What do you think?
Oh, I don't care. Maybe he should go away and learn a new hold, Pete Dunne, and come back when we don't remember that he was wearing the little street urchin cap and looked like a fucking Charles Dickens character. I don't really care right now. I don't care that he and Sheamus were in the same social circle before.
Sheamus?
Whatever. He ought to be ashamed of himself beating up on this little Pete Dunne. And especially if the guy is not going to be Butch anymore, then why is he hanging around with another guy that's going to give him banger after banger after banger? So later on this program,
well, he's not hanging out with him anymore. Actually,
well,
it works in kayfabe now that I think about the disgusting remarks that you're making. It works because he gave up being Butch, so he's no longer interested in banger after banger after banger.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. I'm glad we've resolved that for all of their sakes. Maybe now their families can find some peace. So they're setting up more of why that Xavier Woods is upset. And, the New Day, oh, Jesus Christ, the trombones and the Fruit Loops and the whatever the fuck's going on. We just can't stand it for a long time. But they're actually telling some type of story here. Woods is upset because Kofi didn't ask him before Kofi asked Odyssey to join the New Day because he doesn't want to replace Big E. But Kofi says, no, you and I, we're family, but we're trying to help a rookie like we wish that they would have done to us or whatever the fuck when we were mere children. And then Odyssey Jones comes in and he just fucking hugs the shit out of Woods, and he's very exuberant to the point of, oh, Jesus Christ, this fucking guy, according to Woods. So that's where they're going with that.
I'm kind of on Woods' side. We're a team. You can't just show up with some new guy and be like, hey, here's your new friend. What's that?
Well, now that you put it that way, fuck this fucking guy, Kofi. And fuck Odyssey.
Well, you don't have to go too far. Odyssey's just a young guy trying to break in.
Well, no, I think Woods ought to crack both of them over the head with a fucking boat oar.
Like I said to you last week.
Why don't they ever use a boat oar? Even when they're in Corpus Christi or Galveston, and nobody brings in a boat oar. How many great movie murder scenes have occurred with a boat oar?
There's been a few. I don't know how many great scenes there have been with murder scenes. Murder scenes.
Go back in the fucking Academy Award archives and find that best boat oar murder.
Well, they're not going to murder anyone on Raw, so what are you saying? They're going to pull out this...
Well, they could try. What's the difference?
And you know what? There's nothing ridiculous about it being under the ring, because everything's under the ring.
Well, yeah, especially in a fishing town.
They leave their fishing equipment under the ring.
You go. Because you never know when you might need to go catch some trout just for the halibut.
What do you think of the potential of Xavier Woods as a heel?
The problem is he...
Were you around him before he was in WWE?
Yes, in TNA, Consequences Creed. No, he's a nice young man. I'm not knocking. I hate this whole New Day thing, and I'm sure they've made a bunch of money with it. But good Lord, the trombones and etc. But a very nice young man, very smart and studious and etc. So I'm not knocking him, but how is he going to turn heel on his partner who's the same size as him? And his partner's new friend is 400 fucking pounds. Doesn't he need some help?
He's doing it in the name of Big E.
Well, Big E ain't gonna come back and team up with him.
Yeah, if you're coming back from a neck injury, working with Odyssey Jones may not be the way to go. We
don't know he's gonna come back from a neck injury, do we? Have we heard that?
No, I mean, he's been hosting their pregame shows, but there's been no indication he's coming back. So
so the point is Woods needs to find a friend, right? He needs to get on the friend finding site and find him a friend. Or elsewise he's out fucking gunned here, isn't he?
Well, he's on the way.
Well, he's on the way. Anyway, Model Girl tried to wrestle Ivy Nile. Did you see that? Did you see any of that?
I did watch this because I was intrigued by what it would be.
Well, it was kept short, and that's not a surprise. But again, you can see her heart beating, and she's the only person I've ever seen that you don't need an X-ray. You just need a Kodak to see whether her bones are broken. You can see she's a skeletal structure of a woman. It looks like a fucking awkward newborn fawn trying to find its way up an icy hill. Is that descriptive enough for you?
I don't know if it's, I wouldn't say that's for me, but I would say it's descriptive. And she is very, that's one of the things I think we've seen with men, but with the women, it really stands out more when they don't have the traditional frame of someone who will be taking a lot of bumps.
She makes Stacy Keibler look like Steamboat.
Come on.
So then the lights went out.
Stacy Steamboat?
You know that if only Ricky had adopted her to be his ward or something like that, the Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson type of deal, and then she could have been Stacy Steamboat and the world would have been her oyster. But then the lights went out, as I had mentioned, and the spooky piano played. Don't feel like you have to accompany this now with fondling your organ over there. And the fog began rolling in from San Francisco Bay. And Model Girl just disappeared. And now they're presenting it. I mean, I guess they're trying here. Maybe they've heard some of our program. I'm sure they've heard some of our programs. Because now the announcers are saying, well, it's Nikki Cross who believes she's Abby the Witch. Have they been doing that before? Or can I just not hear it because I'm so stunned at what I'm seeing?
Well, I noticed they started doing it with the Wyatt Sicks match, where it wasn't like, here's the pig-faced man. It was, here's Dexter Lumis has grown his hair out. What's wrong with him? Like, that was what it was. And with this, again, she gets in the ring, dressed like some kind of horror creature, slowly walking and acting like a horror creature, and Ivy Nile standing there. All I'm thinking is, why doesn't she go, Nikki Ass, is that you? And then drop kick her or something.
Yeah, well, that's another, because Ivy Nile is standing there mortified like she's seeing the visage of grisly death appear before her, instead of just, okay, if it's a Nikki Cross, I'm going to kick her in the crotch and run or something. It's like they have been endowed with the power to inspire fear amongst people where they just paralyzed and they can't run or go anywhere. So it's a little theatrical, is what we're trying to say. But there's Rowan and Loomis and Gacy. Sounds like a fucking law firm in Cleveland. And they attack Chad Gable and the Creeds, who obviously were in support of Ivy Nile. And Cross tackles Ivy. And the fans, I believe, they were chanting, "You fucked up." But was this the part? Because there was a part where they chanted, "You fucked up," and they were trying to bleep it in this show. And then there was another part where I don't think they caught it in time. But anyway, and then Captain Howdy is there and gives
Uncle Howdy.
What?
He's not a captain. He's an uncle.
I'm sorry. Well, he could be a captain and an uncle. One of my uncles was a captain.
Captain in what?
No, he was a colonel. Is a captain more important than a colonel, or a colonel more important than a captain?
What arm of the military are we talking about?
Well, he flew planes in World War II.
For what arm of the military?
For what? For no, ours. Not goddamn somebody. He was on our side. The fuck do you think I am? What is the matter with you?
I said what arm of the military, not what military.
I thought you said what
Was he on Japan's side? Is that why you have hard feelings against Japanese wrestlers?
I thought you said what army, you son of a bitch.
What arm of...
Well, I guess he was in the Air Force. I'd have to go down and check the newspaper clippings. But it seems to me that all the pictures are in black and white. So, you can't really tell by that.
But what you're saying is he wouldn't have been afraid of Nikki Cross.
No, I didn't. I don't know where you...
I'm trying to bring it back to the Wyatt Sicks. I'm trying to bring it back to the review.
Well, why was I talking about my uncle?
I don't know.
Well, you made me forget. I had a point. Did I make it?
You made a point about your uncle? Sounds like a wonderful man who was in some army and some arm of some army somewhere.
And you know where he kept his army? In his sleevey.
He was a frogman for Canada. Like, I don't know what he was doing.
No, that's only in Quebec. But
see, that's awful.
Well,
they're gonna get mad about that. I didn't even think of that.
Oh, they're mad about everything. The Quebecers, for fuck's sake, they live to be mad. You can't even get ice in your fucking drinks up there just to piss you off. But we were saying an uncle can be a captain, and whether it's Captain Howdy or Uncle Howdy, he could easily be one and not the other, or he could be both. But he gave his finish to Chad Gable, and the end. They faded to black, and then you see a friend of ours walking down the hallway. But give me your thoughts first of all on this. Started as a bad wrestling match, and poor Ivy now. She was trying, but this woman, skeletal being, it just ain't gonna happen. But it started as a wrestling match and ended as Plan 9 from outer space. Your thoughts?
Plan 9 has its charm, unlike this. I don't like it at all. I mean, now they're trying to make it less mystery-based, and they're trying to make it, these are real people who have real issues, and they're getting through these issues by dressing like, they're like furries. I don't know what their deal is, actually. And I listen to the reaction. The fans are reacting when the piano hits, because they know, it's a good time to pick someone's wallet. The lights will be out. I know, but they react to it.
I don't know. I would have been thinking about at least fucking feeling somebody up, but you're all about a profit, and I'm all about the fucking fun.
Yeah, that's not really fun. That's called being a pervert. But I was saying something, and you made me think of my uncle. What's going on here? No, what I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, is the one good thing is all this stuff, and again, the fans there react to it, not at the same level of main event stuff, but they react to it. It's in this zone, like it's mixed in with the Alpha Academy and the people like this, where there's nothing that you are supposed to take too seriously. The problem I have is this is not the first time where either something serious is right before it or right after it, and I think it's been with Punk a couple of times, where they follow the monster segment with a segment with lights on with CM Punk. And it's
speaking to people in a real legitimate fashion.
It's a stark contrast, because in this case here, it happened right away.
Yes, it did.
I'm Brian Last, and those are my thoughts.
You are correct, sir. Well, thank you. You're supposed to say over. So, I agree with you, because as soon as we faded to black from the zombies, and not even the ones who made the fucking cool records, but just these zombies, it's the 9 o'clock hour, and like Mussolini following the zombies, he dug himself out of a grave. Oh, he's a survivor of AEW.
Oh, God.
Well, think about this.
You're singing? No, let's not. Let's move on to something else. Let's not and say we didn't.
No, it's let's not and say we did.
No, in this case, let's not and say we didn't.
Ah. So you're jealous. See, but anyway,
that's your takeaway.
Well, yes, I see. I just call a turd a turd there. But anyway, now I had something I was going to say. Oh, I'll tell you what I was going to say.
You have an uncle. He was in the army.
No. We've done that on the previous segment. The Punk. What I'm trying to make is, I think, unique among professional wrestlers now, in that 3 specific weaselly faced fucking people. I'm not saying there's only 3, but 3 specific weaselly faced people were putting a mouth on him, as Dennis Corleuzzo used to say, and he was able to punch one repeatedly in the face. I think he clocked the other one too, and he front face locked the third stooge, and then exits a company where he was obviously miserable, and then goes to the biggest company in the world and is doing some of the best promos, I think, of his career, and obviously making more money than he was in La La Land over there. But he actually got to fucking dot everybody in the face on the way out. I think that's commendable, don't you?
Commendable? I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think some people still need to be hit. What was the question? There's some people that still need to go down. But what was your question?
Most of the time, when you leave somewhere, you don't get to fucking pickle the fucking guy that you want to pickle on the way out. And I admire him for his perspicacity and being able to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, he did it twice, technically. He did it once and he got sent home for a while, and then he came back and he did it a second time. So
well, the second pickle wasn't as hard as the first, though.
Well, he's a little pickle. He's a little hairy pickle.
Oh, he's not even a dill. He's just a bread and butter.
That's right.
Anyway, so Punk comes out with the strap around his neck. And the promo, he congratulates the Panthers, which are the local team down there that does the thing that team does. Is it hockey or who is it? What do they do there, the Panthers? Are they affiliated with college sports? I don't fucking know.
It's hockey. It's indeed hockey.
Well, they like him down there, and he congratulated them, and he got the people fired up. And he tells them stories and he talks to them, and it's meaningful shit. And he was at Fanatics Fest. Why is the WWE on a hot streak? Because it's you people, the fans. He met a cancer survivor and he talked about his friends with cancer. And he met a girl that flew 15 hours to meet him. And he said, I missed you guys for 10 years, so I get excited to do this again. And there's the bracelets that the fans have made. So, okay, I'm Taylor Swift for men. Hi, he's not doing stand-up comedy. And he's not doing a prepared dramatic scene. He is speaking to people and telling them something in a verbose fashion that they can listen to and get into or whatever the fuck. And then he tied the bracelets into the one that Drew McIntyre took. And then seamlessly promoting Drew. Well, I got some news for everybody. I made Drew a bracelet, and he holds the fucking strap up. And he announces in Berlin it's going to be a strap match. What sense does that make? Just because Drew tried to whip him with his belt, but Punk took the belt away from Drew and whipped him with it, and now they're going to have a strap match? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Ha ha ha. This shit's logical. They have reasons for the things that they're doing. And what did we say on the last program that you and I did 48 hours ago or whatever it fucking was? I talked to you goddamn constantly. Your pearly tones excite me, Brian. I said the heel has to steal or fuck up something that means something to the babyface. Whether it is a championship or money or a car or a personal item or whatever the fuck. Personal issues draw money. This is wrestling at the root of it. Inside this, goddamn overblown production that it's become, these days. But at the root of it, this is fucking wrestling. And he explains the stipulation. You gotta fucking drag your opponent to all four corners to win the match. And he says, I'm gonna whip this bitch and take my bracelet back. And ba-boom, Drew. But first, your comments on Punk.
My comments on Punk? Oh, his hair looked wonderful. What do you want to hear?
No. I mean, what do you think of the things I've said about his promo? Do you see, I see a difference in what he does and what a lot of other people do in talking giving them this overblown, grandiose, prepared. They're trying to all be goddamn Shakespeare eloquently instead of just talking to people.
He does a better job of saying a lot and getting people to listen without getting bored than most people can or do.
Yes.
Because he goes on for a while and you don't really get bored with it. There's always intrigue in what's coming, what's next, what's he going to say. He's shown that he'll say things. What's he going to say? I thought this was an okay promo. My big disappointment, and I know I'm in the minority here on this call.
Uh-oh.
I'm not a big fan of strap matches. So that deflates me a little bit. I've never been a fan of strap matches. And never been a fan on what usually ends up being the finish in almost every strap match I've ever seen.
But, playing devil's advocate, when's the last time that you saw a strap match?
Oh, Sting and Vader, 92. No, I don't remember. I don't remember the last one I've seen, so I can't quote the specific last one, but just not one of those matches I've enjoyed. Now, let's see what these guys could bring to it here that'll change my mind, but, it's not like a stipulation. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the one.
Well, what I'm thinking is that, and I can see, because you've been watching them for 30 years, a lot of those finishes were in the territories. I don't remember. There's been a large chunk of modern wrestling that I have not watched. If they've done the finish that you're talking about in the modern era, and some of the listeners I'll be glad to be not corrected on this, because I'm saying I don't know, so you can't really correct that, but enlighten me. Have they done the The finish. Anybody that knows it will know what I'm talking about. To the four-corner strap match in the modern era on major pay-per-view, but I still don't think they're going to do that.
So, and again, the finish works good in some places, and in other places it doesn't. It depends on the people, depends on how it's done. But typically in these matches, after a while, you may see it coming. You used it very effectively in 1993 without giving details because you're hiding this. So I won't say anything too much. But
all right, no, I'll go ahead and tell them because you're going to praise me. But actually, if you remember, it was kind of fucked up, but it worked because the people thought they were really seeing a fucking struggle.
That's right.
But the deal is that finally the babyface makes a big comeback, but then gets stopped, and the heel wraps the strap around his neck or somehow and is dragging the guy to all four corners. But as the heel touches the corner and moves to the next corner, the babyface touches the turnbuckle behind him, so they're 1-1, then 2-2, then 3-3. And then as the babyface puts the brakes on, and as the heel jerks trying to get to the last corner, the babyface gets jerked over the top of him and touches first. But I don't think they're going to do that because I just said it out loud, but also because a lot of people probably have seen that, but also I don't think it's what they're going for here. I don't think it is a finish that would be a logical progression in this story. I think what they're going for, and see if I come out right, is if people were disappointed because they didn't see violence with the Seth Rollins referee involvement, I think we're going to see some fucking violence. I think people are going to be red, white, and blue from that strap, and they're going to have some creative shit going on. And I believe most probably they will fucking end up doing some type of finish to continue the program. But that doesn't mean, either guy necessarily has to win, although I would think that they would return the favor from, what was the last pay-per-view we did? SummerSlam. But that's just me. But, Drew came out right there. So we've gotten off on a tangent here. Is this where we were talking about my uncle flying planes?
No, that was a different tangent and a different arm of the show.
A different arm of the show?
That's right. It was a different arm of the show.
Well, let me give it a leg up here now. So as soon as Punk said he was going to take his bracelet back, Drew's music played, and he comes to the entranceway with the microphone. And again, he not only does a great heel promo, but it's because of his attitude and delivery, as Finkel would say, demeanor. But his delivery puts it over the top, and the accent works for him because he still has a man's voice and doesn't sound like he's gargling marbles. And he sounds like a movie star instead of a goddamn rugby thug or whatever. But is very unique with his verbal skills now that he's unleashed himself, but also his delivery and just the whole package puts it over the top. And he agrees to the strap match, but he wants a teaser right now. And he tells Punk, lose the strap and let's fight. And Punk said, I'll give you the strap if you give me the bracelet. And then Drew milks it and says, no. Actually, he said, no. That's kind of more like him, isn't it?
He has the best facial expressions during promos. When someone else is talking and they show him, he sells everything perfectly with his face.
And it doesn't have to change that much on him because you can tell it. He can go from being just smug to fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Just with the eyebrows and the fucking...
lifting the mustache a little.
Yeah, a couple of cheek muscles.
Yeah.
But finally, Punk says, it's not about me attached to you, it's you going to be attached to me. And that's all they had to do. And then there you go. And again, a lot of that was just a conversation, but they built it and got to a point and sold the issue. That's my point that I got to.
Well,
I took a drink.
That is the point
Because I'd put a period on the end of a sentence, so I thought, pardon me for taking air and liquid.
No, I'm okay with the air and liquid. Swami was barking as soon as you took your break, so I was trying to prevent.
Oh, so you were distracted by the dog barking.
I wasn't distracted. Again, thinking of the listener and the listener experience, I didn't want just a random dog to appear in the middle of the track. I thought that would throw people off. People are driving down the road, all of a sudden looking over to their shoulder, thinking there's a dog attacking them.
All right, well, okay, but now then you got to have Swami music.
What's that going to be?
I don't know. You got to have
music.
some.
What does that mean? Music for him, like entrance music?
Yes, and every time and I'll do the same thing for Harley over here when she sits with me and she has one of her coughing spells or whatever.
You don't have any instruments, do you?
Well, I'll find something and we have to play it so that way we identify. As soon as you hear the dog in the background, we play the dog's intro music.
Oh, what could it be?
So the people know that the dog is here, and then the dog becomes part of the show, and then. That way it's not an unexplained character.
This is such a fun idea. What sound should I apply to Swami? Hold
on. Oh, good Lord. I meant like real music.
Swami's on the loose. Oh, and the music's not stopping. Let's go. Well, whether it's Swami or Harley or Larry, bringing it back to this, who's on the bracelet. What did you think of Drew saying, put down the strap and I'll fight you right now? Because that's... Again, it ties to what Punk says in return, but that's a very babyface kind of line.
Well, actually, not really. Because when you think about it, who else ever even gives it that much legitimacy to even say, put down that fucking flamethrower and I'll fight you right now? But no, it's a heelish, it came off as a heelish thing because of his deal. Well, put the strap down and I'll fight you right now. Because he'd already tried to fucking whip Punk. He knows Punk wants to whip his ass. I don't know. I think that was fine.
Well, Jim, knowing there's a strap match coming up and knowing that this show is just rambling on various things, but more importantly, a strap match coming up, a big strap match, you would think that maybe someone would need to shave before that match. They would look in the mirror and say, I want to look good for this beating. I'm going to shave my face. Make sure my flesh is visible when it's all red and beaten up. And we know someone who can help them shave. Don't we, Jim?
See, what you have done here is, Brian Last, you have missed the obvious transition. Well, folks, I'll tell you what, if they're going to have a strap match, if you want to sharpen your razor up with a strap, you can do it the old-fashioned way. You can take that razor out, you can beat it up and down that big old leather strap until your arms ache and you accidentally cut off your penis or your tonsils or something.
What?
That you'd like to keep. Or you can do it the modern easy way and get a brand new, sharper than a serpent's tooth razor courtesy of our friends over at Harry's. Now, wouldn't that have been better?
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, of course it would, because if you don't want to... Those straight razors, that's another thing. Sometimes it's hard to get those neck areas with that straight razor, especially if you got a little palsy to you, and you don't want anybody else to put a razor to your throat at this day and age.
Yeah, well, this is going in a lot of directions all at once, and let's bring it right back to a central location.
Well, the central location is if you go to Harry's, our friends at Harry's, they will send you a razor that even if somebody tried, they wouldn't be able to cut your fucking carotid artery with it. Even if a member of your household thought he's asleep finally, I'll take this fucking razor.
No.
There's no way. You can only get a close shave with our friends at Harry's Razors and products like that.
Let's focus on listeners who live with people they trust.
Well, nobody's going to be able to get even. I'm just telling you. And, I'm just talking about cutting your throat. And let's face it, if somebody tried to cut something else off, they can't with Harry's.
Again, Lorena Bobbitt has no involvement with this. Let's get back to shaving one's face, shaving one's facial hair, doing it with a fine razor of, I forget what the handle is, but you have the copy and the handle is great, and you can shave the hair with Harry's.
Yes, and have you ever seen a picture of Lorena Bobbitt? She should have done something about her facial hair. And I'll tell you, folks, right now, Harry's is going to give you the sharpest edge on life. If you want to go out and look cleaner than slicker than a whistle and clean and nice and everything without all the growth all over you. If some of the audience has sent us pictures where they're having to shave their foreheads now, well, folks, you can go no further than Harry's. You don't have to go to the grocery store and get those high-priced shave cartridges that they're weighted down by chains to the alarms that go off if you try to steal these things because they're so valuable. Instead, actually, they're not valuable. They're just high-priced. Instead, you go right through harrys.com, harrys.com/JCE, and you're going to get a 5-blade razor with a weighted handle, ergonomic design, the foaming shave gel, and a travel cover so you can't even nick your fingers, much less slice your uvula. And you're going to get that for just $3. And this is the 5-blade razor that comes from the Germans can make fucking razors. They like to make sharp shit. And for $3, the gel, the cover, and most importantly, and it's a beautiful razor. It's a lovely fluorescent color. $3. Normally, that apparently, where is it? It's $13 for that normally, but you can get it for $3 at harrys.com/JCE. And then, as Brian, as I know you have done, because you like a smooth forehead, you can sign up for Harry's to be delivered monthly, half what you pay for the other big brands. They've also got the deodorant, the lotion, the body wash, the hair gel, the crotch wax. It's an amazing...
There's no crotch wax. Let's not add items that they have not released to the public or that we are in any way aware of.
Did they discontinue that with the taint paste?
I don't think... I think you may have been getting packages from a different Harry. Not Harry.
Oh, it was... yes. I was pen pals with Harry Reams back in the 80s.
What?
And he still sends me things everyone. But anyway...
He became very religious, you know.
I tried to break him of it, but he wouldn't listen. If you go to harrys.com/JCE right now, you're going to get that razor. Actually, the cartridge is different than the razor handle and the cartridge. It all goes together. You're going to get the whole thing. You're not going to have to take just one of these cartridges and just rake it over your face. This handle is beautiful. And the foaming shave gel and the travel cover, $3, and the option to do more things to make yourself smell and look good, which would benefit a significant portion of the current public today. harrys.com/JCE.
That's right, Harry's.
Thank you, Mr. Energy.
Well, Jim, like the Energizer Bunny, Raw rolls on or stomps on or marches on, energizes on.
It's wait a minute. Do I have drums here? What kind of drums? Well, that's not really it. That's a drum roll. Remember
that's a lot of energy. That's Buddy Rich.
A lot of energy there. The Energizer Bunny had the drum, and it was beating the drum as it walked along. The little stuffed bunny, the cute bunny.
The Energizer Bunny was no Gene Krupa. That's what I always say.
Well, they didn't have time in those short commercials to really go into a fucking Buddy Rich kind of thing. You know, it was clang, clang, clang. But they're good batteries, the Energizer batteries. Diehards, actually. There was a place in Chicago I used to know that would hook various parts of your body up to a Sears Diehard battery for a small fee.
Do people get to watch? Is it a show where you pay a ticket to watch this person stupidly electrocute themselves, or is this just for the personal gratification of the batterized?
I don't know. There was a mirror on the wall, and there was stadium seating on the other side of it.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
I'm not sure what... but anyway, Raw rolled on, and we got to see the not the culmination, but the match where New Day and OJ, Odyssey Jones, had to work as a cohesive unit. And, of course, Odyssey Jones, as we talked about earlier, is not Xavier Woods' favorite guy, even though Kofi likes him. And so we got this whole thing of who's going to get kicked out of the clubhouse. Oh, the Judgment Day of a clubhouse. Maybe this is what is this? A boys club, a tree house, a goddamn Quilting Bee, I don't know what the fuck they're joining here, but you don't like this is almost an AEW angle, I'm thinking now. You don't like my friend. I'm not friends with your friend. But somebody who's nobody's friend, Karrion Kross and the AOP were their opponents in the six-man tag. You know what AOP stands for? Awfully overpushed at this point.
And they're barely pushed, so that's really saying something.
The fact that they're on television is a push that should be pulled. But anyway, Odyssey Jones won a six-man tag team match, and Xavier Woods has to, be kind of reluctantly applauding him and etc. Then we went to the invisible camera. I'm glad that, who was it? Alexander Pepperday.
Pepperday.
Brought the invisible camera phrase or nom de plume out into the open, because that's what it is. When Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley were having the deep heart-to-heart talk in the back, 6 feet away from a fucking TV camera. The invisible camera. I don't like the priest. I don't like the priest. I don't like.
But those nuns are all right.
Well, hey, they kind of take anything they can get, because it's not like they're getting a lot of fucking attention in those areas. Anyway, nevertheless, the point is, Priest or Rhea, the calm, the heart-to-heart talks, the kind of conversation, the thing we have noted before, blah. I want to see Rhea go out there and fucking be Rhea Bloody Ripley. Of course, that sounds more like Mom's Mabley.
It sounded nothing like Mom's Mabley in any way.
Well, it sounded more like Mom's Mabley than it did like Rhea Ripley. So
Rhea Bloody Ripley!
That sounded like Vince introducing Aretha Franklin at WrestleMania 3.
What did Aretha think? No one's ever asked her, what did you think when you heard this maniac?
And now that's a question that will go unanswered forever. What did you think of the maniac that introduced you in front of all those people at the wrestling thing?
You know what my favorite part of Aretha Franklin's involvement with WrestleMania 3 is? That the negotiation to get her there with, I guess it would have been Arista Records, led to the montage video at the end over the credits being Who's Zooming Who, which is a underrated late, Aretha Franklin hit, because she didn't really have too many hits after that. So you get to watch, Billy Jack Haynes all bloodied up by Hercules hitting him with the chain, to Who's Zooming Who, and all the other great moments. You'll never see it again because it's edited off the network, because whatever deal they had ended that day. But, yeah, if you go watch the pay-per-view when it first aired or had it on VHS, Who's Zooming Who?
See, that's a reason to keep your VHSs, kids.
That's right.
But anyway, the no DQ match between Bronson Reed and The Miz. Brian, did you peruse this or skip to the finish like I did?
Yeah, again, it's a 3-hour show. There's so much going on. I like Bronson Reed, though. I like everything they're doing with him. I was surprised that they did this match with The Miz this week. But whatever gets Bronson Reed over, they're doing a better job than anything they've done since he's been up there. So,
well, yeah, and that's why I wanted to see the finish. Obviously, I wanted to make sure they hadn't gone out of their minds. But the match was the tables, the chairs, the kendo sticks, the garbage cans, the caca, and that, so we get to the point. Bronson Reed won with the splash, which is over as fuck now because of what they've done. Imagine that. Stretcher some people out and give them some internal injuries with a simple fucking move, and simple move becomes over. And in this case, he goes for a second one, and they play music, and here comes Brown Strongman. And they have a big face-off, and then they just cut to a promo in the back with Sheamus. But I don't want to see a Strongman anywhere around Bronson Reed right now. Let him keep squashing fucking jabronis and peons and or other mid-level talent. He can't put a main eventer out every week.
However, what if this leads to him doing what he's done to the giant Braun Strowman? Because this is the build-up. You got to think everything is to kind of build up Seth Rollins eventually returning and fighting a Bronson Reed that means so much more now than he did a few months ago So it's not, the long term isn't for him to lose to Braun Strowman, it's to lose to Seth Rollins. Is Braun someone that makes him a little stronger to get past to get to Rollins?
Only if he just splashes him and nothing else. Because if they have a match first, it will be detrimental. Because...
does it hurt him if someone does power moves to him right now?
Well, especially when the guy's a foot taller than he is and fucking 50 or 60 pounds heavier. I mean, they're the old... Everybody always used to try to book the Road Warriors against other big Warlord and Barbarian or Powers of Pain. Well, they were the Powers of Pain, but you know what I'm saying. They wanted to see them against the big monsters, they thought. But then, as you look back in retrospect, in hindsight, the Road Warriors drew more money against the Tullys and Arns and the Midnight Expresses, the little heels with a lot of heat that could take bumps for the big guys. Because then when, I don't think that Bronson Reed versus Mr. Strawman, whatever the fuck his name is going to be any kind of a good match to showcase how big of a fucking monster beast that Bronson Reed is. Even now, if he splashes him at the end, then just splash him. Don't have the fucking match. I think that would help Bronson Reed more.
All right, well, back to SmackDown.
No, this is Raw.
That's right.
That's right. At 10 o'clock, we had Priest and Dominic. That was the big match. But, as one would imagine, the Judgment Day was there as soon as Priest is coming out in the aisleway. Boom, there's Carlito and Finn and JD Funko. And Priest beats all three of them up. And then has a face-off with Dominic in the ring. And then they did the deal where Rhea came in the ring behind Dominic. And he realizes he turns around, oh shit, and she headbutts him. And then Priest grabs Dominic and shit cans him, telling her to clear off the desk. And Rhea grabs him and she's going to give him the riptide through the desk when there's Liv Morgan with a chair. Boom! And nails Rhea. And remember, we were just talking about she doesn't have to wait till the pay-per-view to get her hands on Dominic.
Right.
Remember I said you can do something where she gets him and gets some element of satisfaction, but then gets stopped before a big thing that would take the heat off of him and you can put more on him. So this was an example of that. She got to strike the fucking blow. Then she got to grab him for the finish, and the intent was there, but that fucking Liv Morgan. That's the idea. This is fucking perfect. And then all of the guys jump Priest, and Liv beats Rhea up on the desk. And then they hold Priest and make him watch while Liv runs Rhea's bad shoulder into the post and throws her over the desk and into the stairs and another post. And then Finn gives that double stomp to Priest, and Liv hits her finisher on Rhea Ripley. And then Daddy Dom, gives Priest the frog splash. All of this was fucking perfect. There's one thing wrong with it, and possibly the young folks today don't even notice or care. Nobody was trying to stop any of this.
And clearly the fans thought someone was, because they were chanting yeet, because it's been established that Rhea and Jey Uso got along. I think fans were expecting that, but that's not the direction they went.
Well, but even there should have been a referee in the ring, because it was supposed to be a match. There are no referees, no security. They establish security will come out when guys are signing a contract instantly if somebody turns the table over when they want them to. But nobody's coming when this goes on for so long. So if you had structured it to where there's 5 Judgment Day felons.
They're not felons. Hold on. They're not felons. There are no convictions.
These criminals, these misfits, there's 5 of them.
Thugs,
miscreants, hooligans. So when when they attack in the alleyway, couldn't we have 2 or 3 referees? They could, oh shit, and they get shoved and they get, flung away, not pile driven or whatever. And then once that the baby faces look like they've got Dominic, well, then maybe security could come out, but not even fucking jump in because what the fuck, nobody's doing anything. And then it breaks loose again. Well, now you've got the fucking, as Rhea's going for the thing on the floor, you got the security people trying to come in, but no, there's Liv with a chair, so they go to them, but there's 4 of the fucking heel guys, and they throw them away, and then they do the shit they're doing, and then send a couple of agents, send a few people in staggering, times that not just 20 people that are going to overwhelm the thing, but it looks like somebody's realizing this shit's happening in real time and coming out trying to do something, and it gets wiped out or fucking shoved away or packed into a large box, whatever the fucking case. But otherwise, great fucking performance by everybody. Well, did you notice that until I brought it up?
I mean, I noticed that no one came out to save them, but you break it down better than everyone.
But you don't have to even stop them. Just have somebody look like they're trying and let them get away with what they're supposed to get away with. And, anyway. And then they did a promo in the back. Did you see the Judgment Day? They were gloating over what they just done, but it was a camera with a dirty lens. Did you notice that?
I did notice that. It stood out. You don't usually see that. You wonder if
yes.
The first thought you have is it me? And then it's like, it can't be me. What the hell? How could it be me?
I bet they had shot something back in the back maybe and flung some, I don't know, goddamn, something from the concession stand or whatever on the lens, and nobody remembered to wipe it or something, but it was like, what the fuck? It was like they were shooting it through a dirty window with shit dripping off of it. Anyway, speaking of looking at something through a dirty window with shit dripping off of it, the next match was a girls' triple threat tag team match. Playa. So, then Michael Cole bid adieu for now, so long for now, down the highways and byways until we see you again, to Pat McAfee, who's going to be off Raw for the football season. Can you imagine how much money McAfee is making when he's going from football to the WWE to whatever the fuck else he does? He's in demand, and they played the Pat McAfee highlight video, which he stands on the desk a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, a lot. Screams a lot, waves his arms around a lot, stands on a desk a lot. A lot of screaming, but mostly screaming.
The screaming is, no, Pat's good. We like Pat. Come on. Poor old Pat. Hey, at least he's got enthusiasm. He's a very enthusiastic fucking salesman for the show here. And then we got to Randy Orton and Ludwig Kaiser. And, again, excellent work from both guys. I like that because they're both excellent workers. I like that they've made Kaiser more serious as a threat, as himself rather than just Gunther's stooge. And Orton's a perfect guy to be able to stay over but still make another guy, look more effective, and blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking, Kaiser is thin for this roster bodily. He's in great shape, but he's thin. But next to the AEW guys, I think he might look like Lex Luger, because at least he's got something there. He can fill out a little bit. Orton would look like Andre, though. But anyway, they had a good match, but what can you say? This is the prelude to getting Randy together with Gunther. And so Orton came back with his belly backs onto the desk, and they did a bit of back and forth, and then Orton hit him with a superplex, a DDT, and an RKO it took to put the man away. Not that he was kicking out of all of those things. He hit him with 3 things in a row and beat him, so that's the way to do it. And then Gunther slides in, and they go to Fist City as we go off the air. And that was the big finish of Raw. But they don't need anything else. The building in Berlin, I assume, is sold out, right?
I don't know. I could check, but I would assume.
I would have think.
You would have think.
That's the wrong accent.
No.
It's I would think.
I don't know if that's the way they talk over there anymore.
They would be sold out. Well, that's the way Major Hochstetter talked to Colonel Klink.
Right. Like I said, I don't think that's the way they talk over there now.
Are you saying that a guy named Werner Kemplerer wasn't German?
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, then as far as I'm concerned, German people sounds like Colonel Klink.
Sounds like someone on TV 50 years ago.
Well, it was
portraying someone in real life years earlier.
Actually, it was almost 60 now, but who's counting? But nevertheless, I assume they're sold out in Berlin in the arena, and we know they're getting just a large amount of money from the people over at the Cock to put this thing on the air, and one would assume that the pay-per-view around the world is sold out. You can't order any more of the pay-per-views. They won't take any more of your money. They feel badly about it. So they don't really need to do any bigger of an angle than this, do they?
Not really. I mean, I think they do, like you said, they do enough. They do what they have to do, and you get through these shows, and every now and then you get one, you're like, man, that's a great episode. They had one just recently, and then sometimes you're just happy if you get a good segment or two, and there's a lot of things slowly moving until next week.
Slowly I turned. Step by step, inch by inch, I crept up on the pay-per-view.
What do Rhea and Priest need to do? A guy and a girl against a gang of 4 guys. Well, with Liv, so that equals...
Well, no, four people and a woman is what you're saying.
What would I say? 4 people and a woman, and also it was 4 people and Paul Heyman once, I believe.
Yeah, at one time it was, but we know what you're trying to say.
What I'm trying to say is something very poor. No, what I'm trying to say is, do they get a new recruit? Do they just team up with another existing babyface? What do you do right now with this? Is this a chance to bring someone in and elevate them? What do you see?
For this particular match coming up, I'm thinking the baby faces should go over, but that doesn't mean that's the end of the program. They can get heat after, or they can do something or whatever. But I think, it's going to be somewhat of this is Rhea's big return. I'm not worried about Priest as much, but this is Rhea's big return. From her injury, correct? The first big show she's been on. Am I missing something? Have I had a brain tumor?
Well, Rhea's she wrestled at SummerSlam. She lost to Liv Morgan.
Oh, God, that's right.
Dominic revealed himself as being a swine.
Yes, okay. Then I do have a brain tumor. Thank you for bringing that. But, well, then in that case, yes, Rhea needs to win something here pretty soon. So I think they could probably...
Speaking of brain tumors, I don't know if you remember earlier we were talking about you signing over some stuff to an LLC I've created in Wyoming.
Yes, but I've decided instead to go down to Calabasas County. And I've received some good legal advice that there's a sucker that can be plumbed over there. But anyway, so the point is Rhea's coming back from all of this, of the injury, the loss. I would think that the mixed tag team match, you might want to make the people happy in the finish, but then it's somehow either then or the Raw the night after, whatever the case, continue with some heat on the heels. To your question about all of the guys, I don't think they need another. They got the bloodline A and B, or blood type O and type O negative, whatever the fuck it is. Do they need to have gang wars? Isn't that an AEW thing? Rhea and Damian are friends, and you can have a mixed tag, but that doesn't mean that Damian is going to suddenly, start being a mixed tag team wrestler only. Rhea wants the singles title. These people are intertwined for now, but I don't think they need to go packing Priest and Ripley's side with a bunch of people, rather than in some way or another. I would think Finn and JD would be the tag team that they'd be looking toward for the future, but at the same time, Priest and Finn have to finish their conflict somewhere. Maybe they just say two of them didn't make their fucking plane because they're not booked or whatever. And hopefully we don't have, like you said, 4 guys running in on a guy and a girl, even if it's Rhea. Although I would bet on Rhea at least against 2 of the fucking, yeah, there you go.
All right, well, there you go. And that was Raw. And I believe this is still in some way my show. I apologize for any noise. It's coming from somewhere.
Oh, God.
We don't know where. I'm not blaming. I'm not pointing any fingers or placing any blame. Except that it's in the air somewhere.
I am currently...
That's what it is. It's a current. I hear some sort of current.
I'm currently in an empty room. Hold on. I'm taking my headphones off.
They put you back in the room?
I'm in an empty room. There's not even a fan going. And my air conditioning is on, but it's going to stay on because it's in the 80s outside today.
Yeah, see, it's something over here, and it's either something in the air or my tinnitus. I just checked.
Do you have a tinnitus checker?
No, I checked I took my headphones off. That was my big check. I took the headphones off. I was like, oh, I hear it still. So
if you take a standard food thermometer and stick it in the ear with tinnitus, then if you get a temperature of between 94 and 96, then that means you need to go see a doctor.
You know, the last time you told me to do that, the doctor told me I did everything wrong.
Well, that's because you were using one of those rectal thermometers. I'm talking about a food thermometer. Anyway, where would you like to go from here with your show, pal?
Yeah, I don't know. We've gone. This was the surreal moment of the show. I don't know what we're doing. We're killing time because there's dynamite, and it was.
I want to talk about it. But we can talk about some of our other friends first.
Would you like to talk about some of our other friends?
It's up to you. We've got some great friends.
Tell me about your friends.
Well, what about our friends over at DraftKings?
That's right.
You know, because we haven't mentioned that they're back. They're friends with us again.
If you asked me to wager on what friend you were talking about, that wasn't the one I was thinking of. But thank you for taking us there to talk about our good friends at DraftKings.
Well, it happened to be up on my screen at the time because this email screens keep getting larger and larger. But apparently, college football is coming back. Were you aware of this, Brian?
Of course I'm aware of it. Everyone's aware of it.
Well, apparently a lot of the colleges had fun doing it last year, so they've got together amongst themselves and said they're going to do it again this year. And now apparently it's starting again. It's week 1, and there's a big matchup in Atlanta, I'm told, here between the preseason number 1 and number 16. Now, does that seem fair to you, Brian? That number 1 would fight number 16. Wouldn't number 1 fight number 2 or 3 or 4? Let 16 fight 14 or 15 and make it more even. It's a bunch of big fucking bullies. Who are these number 1 motherfuckers going around picking on these little guys?
Well, the season's just starting, so number 16 could become number 1 if they kick the shit out of number 1 and a couple of other teams, too.
Well, if they could kick the shit out of number 1, they wouldn't be number 16, would they?
They haven't had a chance yet. We have to get the season going. That's what we're talking about, the start of the season, the college football season.
How are they just arbitrarily assigning people these numbers if they haven't even fought yet?
Well, it's based on projections, based on thoughts, based on all sorts of diagrams and statistics. Of course, analytics. You can't forget about all these things.
Have any of the people on these teams actually had a fight and see who's tougher?
I mean, they fight sometimes. The members of the actual team fight, not like the 2 different teams fight each other.
Well, I think before the season starts, they ought to send a bunch of these teams out and let this guy or this team fight this team and the other team fight the other team. And whoever kicks the shit out of who, they ought to be number 1. And then they shouldn't have number 1 fighting number 16 because that's not fair. They would smear the earth with them. You know what? Go to DraftKings right now, folks. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and bet on number 1 to kick the shit out of number 16. And it sounds like theoretically most of the time you'd be right. I guess somebody could get a hit in the balls and fucking drop over and start puking. But it's apparently going to be the biggest college football season to date, at least as far as DraftKings is concerned. And they've got expanded playoffs. Is that where they have more chance to give each other brain contusions?
Well, again, you're going down a road that If you're a
Well,
fan
I'm
of
just
football, you
thinking
may
of these things.
not want to think about the things that will be
If you're-
happening to the brains of the stars that you love.
If you're expanding these playoffs, they're going to have more games where they're going to run headfirst into each other like a bunch of fucking those news, aren't they? The GNUS aren't they the news that have the horns and ram into each other? Possibly I'm thinking of Newfoundlands, but anyway, they're going to have a heck of a time running at each other head first this season in colleges all over the world. They're going to teach them during the day, and then they're going to kill their brain cells at night until they come out even, folks. And if you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use the code JCE, holy macro, do you know, Brian, how much money they're going to give people this time? I don't know how they stay in business. If you're a new DraftKings customer, if you bet $5 on whatever the case, probably on number one, then you'll get $250 in bonus bets instantly. So then you could sprinkle half of that into number one and half of that into number 16 just for shits and giggles. And, well, theoretically, you got to win something, don't you? Do they have draws in college football?
I guess.
Would that be a loophole? Do they have disqualifications, count-outs?
Well, I mean, it could be a weather-related stoppage.
Well, that's an act of God, then. Wouldn't you get your money back?
Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
How much money are we talking?
Well, you're $5. And then the $250 that you get, that you bet 125 on one team, 125 on the other team, you're pretty much guaranteed a victory unless there's a draw or a count out or a double count out or whatever. So how would you lose?
What was the question? How would you lose unless there's a weather-related issue?
Well, that's God. Then DraftKings would ask God for their money back, wouldn't they?
Well, God's good at collecting. He's not really good at handing it out.
He can't handle money. That's the thing. But nevertheless, folks, DraftKings Sportsbook app can handle your money right now. If you use the code JCE and you're a new customer, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 right there, only on DraftKings. The crown, Brian, the crown is yours when you are a draft king. Apparently that would mean you're the king of a draft. And these are the DraftKings. Now, the question is, what was that fella's name that did this for us the last time the DraftKings was with us?
That's a very good question, and the answer to your question is I don't know if that is the same read as the one we have here.
Oh, believe me, I believe it is, but
it is?
I'll go ahead anyway. Do you want to hear it?
You are a good man, yes. I think
you like to hear it. Here it goes. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, parenthetically 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. That's the whole sentence, folks. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance and not a second more. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
That's impressive, man.
Well, it's your show.